Have you ever thought about where your produce comes from? Most grocery chains receive produce from various local and national farmers. In fact, there are about 3.4 million farmers in the United States today. But of that staggering number, only 45,000 are Black farmers. At the Better Buggy, we are a proud group of Atlanta-based Black-owned farmers, selling produce locally and nationwide. Our easy-to-navigate online platform makes it easy for you to make a one-time purchase or to simplify your life by subscribing to our weekly produce box. Whichever frequency you choose, you can order with confidence, knowing you'll receive 100% organic farm-fresh produce. If you're looking for a thoughtful gift for a loved one that they'd actually find useful, be sure to pop by our online store where you can snag a gift card your recipient can use to order their own produce and t-shirts. Ready to start supporting local Black-owned farms and making healthier food decisions? Visit thebetterbuggy.com now to start shopping.
Daniel Cameron is back in the news again, and he's back on this thing about the grand jury did not convict any cops. The grand jury was never presented with Breonna Taylor's case. They were presented with the neighbor's case that lived above her, where they got bullets in their wall. So I guess a neighbor that survived a police shooting and just had some slugs in their wall is more important than the Black woman in the apartment below them and got riddled with bullets, and bullets were all over her apartment. I guess that neighbor above her was just more important to Daniel Cameron. And he punished a cop for that, but no cop punished for killing Breonna Taylor. And this man is still fighting the press over this, as if nobody knows what happened. Nobody knows what he did with that grand jury. And if you really remember parts, a few people in that grand jury came forward and spoke to the press and said he never presented Breonna Taylor's case to the grand jury. And these were people that were sitting on that grand jury at the time. So this scoundrel and raccoon, King Raccoon, is back in the news. So this article came out in the Los Angeles Times, August 5th, 2021. The Kentucky Attorney General, who investigated the Breonna Taylor case, responded Thursday to months of blistering criticism by saying the decision not to charge any police officers in the death of Breonna Taylor. He said it was in the hands of the grand jury, though some grand jurors have complained that they were limited in what crimes they could consider. So he's back in the press saying the grand jury decided not to punish any police officer, which is a bold-faced lie. He never presented the case. Daniel Cameron never presented the case to the grand jury. So he's now, just like he did before, he's trying to shift the blame onto the grand jury for something he did. That's what he's doing. He's still on this kick. Republican Attorney General Daniel Cameron, speaking to the Associated Press, said he hopes people recognize that his role was to look at the facts as they are and not how a particular narrative is being driven by particular people. He's talking about the Black community. That's what he's talking about. Okay, that's what he's talking about, a particular people. Okay, reflecting on the case that thrust him into the national spotlight, Cameron said, I've said this until I'm blue in the face that what happened to Miss Taylor was a tragedy, unequivocally a tragedy. Cameron, yeah, but it was not so much of a tragedy that you're willing to do anything. This man is worse, ladies and gentlemen, than a high IQ prosecutor. You know, This is the highest degree of sellout. It really is. And it's disgusting. And I'm glad he's being dragged. Do some of y'all remember when he was out on Twitter? I think like last February during Black History Month, not this year, back in 2020. And he tried to put a tweet out there recognizing Black History Month. Oh, they dragged the hell out of him over how he handled the Breonna Taylor case. Ooh, he got dragged back. And I think Rihanna was one of those people that dragged him. Not that that's really important, but a lot of people were upset with him. And they were like, how dare you come out here to address Black History Month? And here you got a Black victim and you won't do anything for them. And personally, I think he don't like Black women. I really do. I think that is the root to what's going on here. Because, I mean, look, let's be real. A lot of Black men that are married to or dating white women have a particularly deep disdain for Black women, and they will express it. You can pull up all kinds of YouTube videos of these dudes dragging Black women. And to me, if you are so happy and content with your high IQ woman, then why are you even thinking about Black women? Go on with your life. Be happy. Move on. But I really believe that is the case of what's going on here. He has a disdain for Black women. And see, he'll sit in that position to get back at Black women. I'm just saying, this is how I'm perceiving it. So again, he is putting what he failed to do on the grand jury. The outcome, though, was in the hands of the grand jury, he said. The prosecutor made a recommendation to the grand jury, and those members ultimately decided to pursue that particular recommendation and indict one of the officers. Yeah, the one that shot into the neighbor's apartment. That was more important than Breonna Taylor. So that's what he's really saying. That's what he's really saying. Cameron said in a sit-down interview with AP, 3 members of the 12-member grand jury later came forward to say that Cameron's team limited their scope and misled them about what charges they would consider against the officers. Yes, because this is his way of making sure no officer would be indicted. Okay, we know what he's doing. We see prosecutors all over this country doing this sort of thing. And this is why I don't think grand juries should be used at all. But if you want, because Amy Klobuchar, that's what she did to get around giving any Black person justice. She used the grand jury, and that's how she got around it the entire time she was the DA. So if they're trying to cheat you out of justice, they use the grand jury. They did it in Mike Brown. I mean, we can look at many cases they did this in. They did it in Mike Brown too. So anytime they want no justice for the Black community, they run to the grand jury to ensure that it will not happen. So, all right, so the grand jury, we know people on there complained and they criticized Cameron. And of course, this man is ultra sensitive. Out of every prosecutor in this country, he's the one that keeps coming out in the press whining. And I guess he think if he keeps talking about it, he's going to make people understand. You're not going to make people understand. People are still going to be angry about what you did, plain and simple. But I guess that's why he keeps coming forward. I just don't get it at this point in time. So he says no one is ever going to be 100% in agreement with the decision or recommendations that are made, he said. But from our point of view, our responsibility was to the facts into the law. No, you denied Breonna Taylor's day in court. That is nothing factual or lawful. In fact, what you did was unlawful. Whether you like Breonna Taylor or agree with her or not, she still deserved her day in court. And this man is still denying that of her. You know, he really, at this point, should have his law license revoked. He should. He should have his law license revoked. Taylor was fatally shot by police in her apartment on March 13th, 2020. Her death and killing of George Floyd sparked a massive nationwide racial justice protest in the spring and summer of that year. The 26-year-old woman was an emergency medical worker who had settled for a night when she had went to bed, right? And then the police came in there bursting through the doors with a narcotic warrant, and they found no drugs in the apartment at all, which I'm not shocked. One of the Louisville police officers was charged with shooting into the apartment of Taylor's neighbor. Yeah, that was the only one charged. Does this even make sense? Damn, Daniel Cameron, you are a piece of scum. In fact, now I'm looking at this raccoon. I think the raccoon is above you. The fallout was swift and furious, with Cameron at the center of criticism from protesters and Taylor's family. Cameron spoke at a widely viewed news conference when the charges against one officer was announced. So, I mean, one officer, all those officers that were there that night, one officer, he was willing to sacrifice one officer. And that officer ain't even in jail. All right. So what are you really doing here? So, mm, 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 mm. Daniel Cameron, all I have to say is you will continue to be dragged in the press, be dragged by the Black community, and be dragged for your lack of concern for Breonna Taylor and her family. Plain and simple. As long as she doesn't get her day in court, you are wrong. Okay? And you can't make that wrong right by just running your mouth with the press. It doesn't go down that way, buddy. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video.